Lorgar took the shard of black glassy stone into his hand and felt its energy pulsate from it. He received a series of flashes in his mind's eye of howling monstrosities and beings that were as divine as they were dangerous. Reflexively, he dropped the shard onto the floor of his chambers with a gentle clinking sound. He recognized the aura that emanated from it as being identical to those that existed within vast monuments that were erected on his homeworld of Colchis during his youth, of the Covenant of Colchis and the Old Faith, of the old gods, Khan, Tizen, Slanat, and Arag. Lorgar slowly turned his gaze to the ultramarine Arios Kordos, who had handed the shard to him, demanding to know where he acquired it. He then for the first time noticed the rune of the 8-pointed star painted over his father's imperial aquila. Arios Kordos smiled and relayed the story of how Lorgar's brother, Rabute Killiman, had discovered the Black Oculus on Kutus Prime and was shown visions of the future and of the truth by none other than gods. Lorgar was right, Kordos said. The gods are real, and the Emperor in his actions were not only harming them, but his actions would damn humanity and the Astartes to extinction. Lorgar grew angry, but calmly stated that there is no god but the Emperor of mankind, and that the actions of the Ultramarines were that of dangerous heretics consorting with devils, not gods. Kordos shook his head and said that the Five would bring a new golden age to humanity, which would end in the death of the Emperor for his crimes against his sons, his people, and the very gods themselves, and that those who did not join this revolution would also fall to eternal damnation. Lorgar's own fanaticism boiled through his veins, and he plunged his fist with immense force through Kordos' ribcage and crushed his two hearts with his armoured fingers. He let the corpse fall to the floor with a sickly wet thunk, and calmly walked over to his bedside table and picked up an old ceremonial knife. Gilliman was called to the docking bay of his flagship. He had been informed that Arios Kordos' ship had returned. Expecting good news, he went down to personally receive it. What greeted him shocked and angered him. The ship contained the crucified body of Arios Kordos, his face covered in a series of deep scores and cuts in a crude representation of the imperial aquila. Around his neck hung a sign with words painted in blood that said, "Ave Imperator, Heretic." Gilliman slammed his gauntleted fist into the ship's hull in anger. Lorgar would pay for this insolence. Rogel Dorn sat upon his throne on board his flagship the Phalanx and pondered. He had agents sent out to those brothers whom he believed could side with him, but there were others who would be considered too wild in the central conflict. He decided to take advantage of his position of War Master, and if those wildcards were still unaware of this insurrection of his, then he would simply send them on crusades as far away as possible, in preparation of his force's assault on Holy Terror. A proximity alarm began to ring throughout the Phalanx. A vast fleet was approaching them, and fast. As the ship's crews worked in overdrive to make prepared weapon systems and raising shields, the Phalanx received a transmission from the fleet's flagship, identifying itself as the Invincible Reason.